So we're live. It's Sunday, the 26th of April, 2020. Welcome to Ginger Camel Network Live. As always, we have my special guest, Dr. Hanan Al-Basha. How are you?
I'm fine, Stefan. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Did you have a nice break? Nice weekend break?
I had a very productive weekend. Thank you. Yes.
Very good. And then finally, we've got him on board after technical issues and bringing in the force to actually set him up. We have Mr. Brian Ferguson, ex-financial advisor turned fitness boxing trainer. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, Stefan. Yourself?
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Good.
Right. So I don't have a sponsorship message today. So just to let anyone know that hasn't been watching this show before, we want this show to be a positive and uplifting podcast where you can walk away feeling revitalized and ready to face another day. We're going to bring you experts in their field of business to let us know how they're dealing with this current situation and what measures they have taken to get through this storm. Also, we want to hear from entertainers, singers, musicians who would like to perform on the show. Please get in contact with me on network@gingercamel.com or use the message board on the side, either when we're live or after the show. And finally, we want to give a shout out to www.armyofmasks.com to see how you can help this great initiative in making masks. Please go to their website and volunteer. So, where's he going? Sit down.
Here.
Oh.
Live TV.
Live TV. So, Brian,
Yep.
how have you been coping with the current situation?
Well, obviously, it's been a struggle for everyone. Thankfully, the compound that I'm in is very comfortable. You can go for a walk. There's lots of greenery, lots of grass. And I'm fortunate where I have some training equipment in my balcony, which allows me to continue to train. Otherwise, I'm a great believer that physical fitness can assist and help mental strength, mental fitness. So I'm a great believer in one can help the other. And I've continued to do that, continue to train. And I've been training some people that are in the compound. They want to come along as well and do something, on a one-on-one basis. And it's quite funny because I do boxing training. Both of us wear gloves.
Ah, very good.
And we stay apart, we stay at a distance.
Yeah, but not 2 meters.
It can be 1.5 meters at some stages. Depends how tall the individual is and how long the arms are.
Absolutely. No, going back to, you believing in fitness and keeping healthy, which is good for I always say body and soul.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
When did that first start for you? When did you start realizing that was the case?
I think it was a way back, to be honest with you, a way back when I was at school. Academically, I was never that great. I never really won anything. But if I wanted to run in sport at school or play a specific sport, I realised that through a bit of dedication, training, you could receive a specific result. And that result resulted in an award or a token or a recognition of you being successful. Then it starts the way back then at an early age. Even with my own kids, I encourage them in various sports. A lot of people I speak to here will say, I want my son to be a tennis player. And I say, well, why? He might be a fantastic footballer or a swimmer or basketball or netball. With my kids, I let them play every sport imaginable. And then they decided what one suited them. It wasn't a case of parent pressure, daddy pressure. I see that happen quite a lot here, particularly in Qatar, where, even the locals want their kids to, be good in a specific sport. And these kids are maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, they're too young. So just let them enjoy sport, let them stay kids as long as possible and let them decide. But even from in my previous life as a financial advisor for 35 years, training and physical fitness helped me in that industry. And when I speak to people here who have been training and who are now working in industry and fairly high up the ladder, if they're training well and they're feeling good, if they walk into a meeting, they walk that little bit taller, they feel that bit better, and there was a classic example. It was really nice for one of the young guys that trains with me. He swims, so he uses my training to supplement his swimming. He swims at a high level. Yeah. And I was chatting away to him, and I said, just think, young boy's name is Danny, his name is. And when he goes up and stands on the starting blocks, I've said to him to look to the left and look to the right and look at the guys he's competing against, because none of them will have done this type of training that him and I have done. And he did say to me that did give him that little wee bit of confidence, you know, and in sport, when you're racing and there's only milliseconds of a distance difference between winning and losing, that wee bit of extra confidence can help. And it certainly worked in his case. And I'd like to think it's working in other people, you know, it's helping them improve their lifestyle and giving them that wee bit of confidence, regardless of what they're doing.
Yeah, no, superb. Dr. Hannon, what are you saying?
I'm saying, what do you think, Doctor?
No, yeah, get off. Look, I'm running the show. Get off. No, look, my angle was, look, Dr. Hannon.
Yes.
When someone comes to you with an issue and they're trying to cope on a mental side, do you say, and you're looking at them and you can see that they're physically unhealthy, how do you suggest to them that, you know, maybe they need to exercise or change their diet as well as focus on the mental side as well? Because I feel it is hand in hand. It has to go hand in hand.
Definitely. This actually follows up what Brian was just saying. I say, start exploring what makes you comfortable, what makes you happy, what invigorates you. Because also there is that peer pressure of everyone is doing this, I need to do it. You know, everyone's doing aerobics, I need to do aerobics, or yoga or Zumba or whatever it is. And I hated aerobics, for example. You know, I just can't follow the choreography, and I'm not into it. And, you know, for me, I said the story before, I shared the story before, is I went into a CrossFit box not knowing what it's all about. And I loved it. I loved weightlifting. I had never lifted weights in my life. I realized, and I discovered kickboxing, and I'm like, okay, I want to do that, you know. And these things invigorate me. Tell me, you know, I could do this for an hour and a half, but I can't do 15 minutes of Zumba. Or I love dancing, but not Zumba. Dancing as in just for the sake of moving. And I encourage people to go out and try a few things for a few days, not commit fully, not, you know, pay their 1 year membership and then realize they're not using it up. Just explore what it is that invigorates you, because when you get that feeling post-workout, you will commit. You won't need to get pushed into committing. You will be excited about, you know, waking up and stuff, but also making sure that it fits comfortably into your daily routine to create a habit out of it, rather than force it onto your routine. And thus you will always find an excuse why not to do it. Yep. So I realized trying to put in an exercise for me, for example, in the afternoon or evening, it didn't fit. And I always had something. I'd always prioritize, you know, oh, my son has something in school, or, oh, I've got to have a meeting, or whatever it is, rather than, for me, it was early morning. That is a dead time for me. And this is a time that for me, it's set. When I exercise in the morning, it set the tone. For those that had full-time jobs, they realized that, you know, just taking their bag and their clothes and changing and going straight from work to the gym or whatever they're doing, that in itself worked very well for them. And then they're done for the day. They go home, you know, shower, have dinner and stuff. And that becomes part of their routine. But anything that is forced in terms of what type of workout you do and the timing, and forcing it as you have to do it 5 times a week for it to be effective. If you can fit in 2-3 times a week, that's great. It's movement, you know, if you can walk. And then it's incorporating other small things that, you know, take the stairs if you can, if it's not like dead heat in the summer and you're going to sweat yourself up, which happens to me and I can't do it. Fine. Take the stairs up 1 or 2 flights, walk around the building, park a little further. It's those kind of small things, and just encouraging them to embrace their physicality in a way that invigorates them.
Great. Brian, when people come to you...
Yeah, no, to totally agree with it.
Hey, I haven't asked the question yet.
Well, have a conversation.
Look, you want your own show, I understand. When people come to you, where do you start?
I get a lot of phone calls from people asking to come along. A lot of them are used to other types of training. And what I say to everyone You know, it doesn't really matter what you do, but a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. So they're better doing something, you know, and we could discuss, you know, how it makes you feel physically, the release of endorphins, the release of tension and pressure. These all things are, everybody is aware of that, you know, and boxing, for instance, boxing is all about, you know, discipline, you know, and if you can instill discipline at an early age in training, in football, boxing, whatever sport, then that discipline can follow you through the rest of your life and your career. You know, if you're working and you've got to take exams to get a degree or whatever, the same type of discipline is required. You know, dedication and discipline. Boxing helps build that. It gives you a structure. As the doctor was saying earlier, have a specific structure. If I get a phone call from someone, have a chat with them on the phone, I always invite them to come to the gym where I train and let them have a trial session, half an hour for a trial session, because they might not like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They might not like me. So it's after the half an hour or 45-minute trial session, then they can decide whether or not they want to then commit. And the way I do it is I would say, okay, well, let's commit. Let's do, 3 hours a week for the next month. Let's do that. So they would sign up for a block of maybe 12 sessions, 3 hours a week for the next month, and then see if it goes. But I also say to them, if they've never done anything like this before, you probably won't enjoy the first 2 or 3 sessions. It's the third or fourth session that you start. No, I'd be honest with them. I did be honest with them. And, a lot of people will say that. There's one guy who said, no, I didn't enjoy the first 5, Brian. But he's looking, the next time he comes, it'll be his 6th session, and he is looking forward to that. So, but that's on average. But yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I think doing something is better than nothing. And, I've always trained from a very, very early age. And if I don't train, then there's something missing. I used to be described as I'm like a bear with a sore head if I don't train.
Yeah,
I'm as well doing something, even if it is, a brisk walk. From where I am, I'll go for a walk. I stay in a lab, but I would walk up to the Harley Davidson shop, have a look at the motorbikes, walk around and come back after half an hour, 45 minutes, and feel as though I've done something, rather than just sit and watch the TV, have a coffee and another biscuit. Because I'm not one of those guys that would give you a strict, rabbit food diet. I don't go in for that. I'm not into that at all. Kids. So I'm quite relaxed in that. When it comes to the hours training, it's a serious training session that we do, and the people begin to appreciate that, and they are liking more and more the one-on-one. I was fortunate just before this lockdown. I had a couple of Qatari families where the father and the son was coming, which was really good. It started off with a wee boy coming, and the wee boy was getting good at what he was doing, and his dad then came along just to say hello, and he showed up with a dish dash with double, fantastic. And I then said, well, why don't you join him? And it was his son that encouraged him. His son's 9, and his son encouraged him. So up until the lockdown there, both of them were coming 3 days a week.
No,
and
super.
they thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is something that there's probably a lot of, I don't know how busy the locals are, but I know there's a lot of kids out there that need to do something.
Yeah.
And, I think some of the fathers should do something as well. And what I've got in my favour is my age, because I can afford to be that wee bit cheekier with people because I'm a lot older than them.
Yeah.
If I was a lot younger, I think I'd get away with some of the things to my, my Qatari clients. So,
Here's a question for you.
Fun.
Here's a question for you. You mentioned about that you're not going to put anyone on a diet of rabbit food or anything like that. But do you find that when people come to you and you're just focused on the training, that after a while they look at their own diet, they look at what they're actually eating, because the way they're feeling is completely changed after the training. So then their diet changes because they want to change.
Yeah, 100%, Stefan, 100%. It all runs together. I mean, if I'm training hard, and I watch my diet, because I know I can't continue to train and maybe take 3 or 4 or 5 people a day. That's an hour session a day. So I've got to make sure I've got the right food. And so people will ask me, well, what is it that you eat? What do you have? And I'll tell them what I have for my breakfast. I'll tell them what I have for lunch and an evening meal. Now, that might be, not very often, but that might be at the weekend. I'll go out and have a double cheeseburger and stuff like that. I'll do all that malarkey. I'm not strict and saying, no, I don't eat that.
Yeah.
You know, and let's say taking certain beverages, I'm quite keen on that as well. I don't rule that out either.
Yeah.
But my diet is not bad. It probably could be better. But people, once they get into the training, and then they'll ask me, well, what is it you actually eat? And I can offer them some advice on that. Because if it works for me, then hopefully it'll work for them. You know?
Yeah, but then obviously you're training much more than what they would do anyway. So you can afford to eat what you want because you're literally going to burn that up.
I know. Yeah, but I won't go out. I mean, it's for me a treat once a month is a McDonald's. That's a treat once a month. Same as with the kids when the kids were young. McDonald's was a treat once a month. Whereas I know people here it's every second day. Yeah,
no, very true.
And I've had clients that have said that, oh, no, we go there every weekend and we don't know. No, not for me. Well, hopefully, you know, some of that advice, you know, gets listened to and gets carried on. So
yeah.
No, but the way I speak to people as well about your body is like a machine, like a highly tuned machine. Right? I kid some of my locals on because they drive some really nice cars, and I say, well, look, you've got a nice Ferrari there. You're not going to put rubbish fuel in that and expect it to perform.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put good fuel in it. And, you know, unless you put fuel in it, because some people will say, well, I've not had anything to eat since this morning, and they come training with me at 5 o'clock in the evening. That's no use. They've no fuel in the tank.
No.
How do they expect to perform? So I can chat to them about that and when they should be eating and what they should have before they come along. And then when they do that and we finish a workout, I'll ask them, or I can tell halfway through the workout how much fuel's in the tank. You can tell, you know. People tend to go a funny shade of purple, you know, and their teeth, their lips go blue. You know, you can tell there's a problem there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll ask them, and they'll say the same thing. They'll say, no, yeah, I'm eating properly now, and I can train better. I'm more comfortable doing the training. You know, and once they say they're more comfortable, then I've got to step it up a stage then, because.
Yeah. So, Dr. Hannah, what would your advice be on nutrition?
Exactly what Brian is saying and what we've been hammering in. It's the concept that for you to feel good, you are expected to eat. Deprivation does not work. It is just a matter that you are fine-tuning and taking small incremental steps towards improving the food that you're eating and improving the quality, avoiding the preservatives and the chemicals and the processed foods. So it is just addressing these. So instead of having chips, if you're addicted to chips, like Janice was talking on our last session, then maybe start looking at baked instead of fried, natural and no preservatives. And then a step further would be, okay, get the potatoes and sweet potatoes and you can do them at home and then you bake them and then you're a bit more in control of the quantity you're eating, but more importantly about the quality of the food that is going into our system. And that's exactly what I embraced with my family. It's like, let's look at what we're doing. My son was also addicted to treats like me. I can't help but say, you know, I passed that on to him. But it started becoming, okay, for us, it's a once a month. It is, okay, he likes Nutella, let's do this at home. So at least I know what's the content in it. And if it is sweetened, then maybe a bit of honey or a bit of natural sweetener. So it is just making those very small switches into our diet and our nutrition and what goes into our body, because as Brian was just saying, it is a matter of nourishment. What you're nourishing internally, it really manifests in your body. I know there are other elements. I know there are certain illnesses and diseases that could also contribute to that. For me, it's stress, but also realizing that even though I'm working my best on controlling the stress factors and anything else, I'm also 70, 80, 90% in control of what goes into our body. So even if I want to give myself a treat, we don't do junk food anymore in that sense, or fast food anymore. We established, since we in isolation, we established once a week we're going to do a burger day at home. So we're creating our own burgers, but alongside, then I'm sure there's like, some veggies with it, or homemade guacamole, or Brussels and caramelized onions, or something like that. But it is just implementing that, because at the end of the day, as I said before, I'm putting the foundation for our son, and we have shifted 180 degrees how we think of food and how we treat food.
No, that's great, because even us, we feel that we enjoy having a home burger rather than ordering it from Mackie D's or anything like that, and it's much more tastier, and you can add whatever you want. And we've gone away and gone, why do we order from McDonald's when it's we can make perfect burgers? Anyway, Brian, training from home.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of people that are stuck in their apartments, in their villas, etc. What would your recommendation be if someone wants to start, if they haven't really been working out in the past, but now they're not even getting any exercise going to work or going up the stairs or whatever, and now they really feel it and they're yearning to do something at home, but then they haven't got the apparatus to do that? What would be your recommendation to start gradually?
Well, obviously the difficulty here is with the heat, but I would always recommend going for a walk.
Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that I've trained who were really overweight, and I said, let's go for a walk. Then the walk gets that little bit faster, and then the walk turns into a jog, and then over the days and weeks, that jog turns into a run. So it's just slowly building it up. I mean, I stay in a compound that's got flats. It's on 2 floors, so just walk up and down the stairs. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Walk up and down the stairs. I'm a firm believer in keeping exercises as basic and as simple as possible. So you can do sit-ups, easy enough done. Put your feet underneath the settee, the couch, or the corner of the bed. Or better still, get your partner or your wife or your husband to hold your feet. Do some sit-ups. Do some press-ups. I'm involved in the 25 press-ups a day challenge for mental awareness. For the unfortunate suicide rates are very, very high for males. So it was one of the guys who was from here, Sean McAteer, who was doing it in Hong Kong, who kindly nominated me. So I'm looking for some new people to nominate, Stefan. 25 press-ups a day. I don't know how long it's for, though. I don't know if it's for a week or for 10 days or for a month. I've no idea. I don't know.
Oh, really? I saw you do it on Facebook, but I didn't realize you had to do it every day. I thought it was just a one-off.
No, one-off. 25 press-ups. Come on. Come on. I'm laughing just now because my flatmate's down on the floor crawling underneath here, so nobody can see him crawling back. Anyway, listen, I said it earlier, a little bit of something is better than nothing. And I'm a great believer in that. Do something, even if it is walking up and down, jumping up and down. I mean, I've got kids that come here, we skipping classes, they're skipping, they're punching hand pads, they're punching a bag. They do anything at all. It's better than nothing. I go across to the tennis court and I hit a tennis ball off a wall. If there's no one there, I'll just hit the tennis ball off the wall and just play tennis on my own.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing. If it's 10 minutes, that's okay. If it's 20 minutes, that's even better. You work up a sweat, you come back and have a shower, and you feel a bit better for it,
No.
You mentioned stress. What I noticed here, because obviously I really just got back involved in, I've always been training, and boxing has been my sport for many, many years. And I was fortunate enough to train a lot of professional athletes, footballers, boxers, rugby players, tennis players, and picked up hints from them. But a lot of them, what they said, and it was underlined here, when a lot of women would come training with me, it was the stress levels that seemed to be better after standing in front of a punch bag and hitting it hard and repeatedly. It was strange though, because a few women, I could hear them saying names, and I thought, that sounds like that girl's husband's name. Punched in the bag. So I don't know if that's anything to do with the levels of stress. But here just now, it's very stressful just now for everyone. My heart goes out to people with kids. I must admit that all my kids are growing up. I've got grandchildren. But I've got 2 boys and a daughter, and they're growing up. They're looking after me. The grandkids are the ones I worry about now. But bringing up kids, talking to my neighbours here who have got kids that are not at school. They were about to leave to go to university in the UK. That's all stopped. These guys are under so much pressure. I'm glad I'm through all that, and that's all in my past. Been there, done it, got the T-shirt. But my heart goes out to the parents just now. And I have had a few of them when they come and chat to me or they come and do a bit of training with me. This seems to be the key element. This is the stress factor. It's that uncertainty, you know.
No, that's right. Dr. Han, you know, as we said in the past, exercise does help with your mental health. But when someone comes to you and they're stressed, they're totally stressed, is there a step plan that you give them to help them with that stress?
Yes, it's the bottom line is finding the root causes for the stress. I know that we use stress all across, but sometimes we can't really identify what it is that stresses us out the most. Yes, it could be the job, it could be the spouse, it could be the kids, or it could be just trying to juggle all of that whilst not finding time for ourselves in the middle. And that's the first exercise I ask women to do, since I work with women mostly, is to do an audit of their day, a time audit, in the sense that I ask them to put down their day in 15 or 30-minute slots from when they wake up to when they sleep, and then analyze in terms of what activities they do throughout that day, and across a week or something. And then we look at it together. And sometimes they realize that, you know, the stress of not having time is actually a false stress, because they do have a good, for example, couple of hours in the evening that they could do something that kind of de-stresses them. Scrolling through Instagram for an hour and a half does not work. But if I put aside 15 minutes for a breathing exercise and some meditation, and I'm not asking them to give up their hour and 15 minutes of Instagram, then that works. Or putting in, as I said earlier, like fitting in a workout, whatever they choose. And after an exploration of 1 to 2 weeks, I had one of the ladies and my friends that she said she started embracing an exercise. She started going to an exercise class after work. She loved it. That her husband started joining, and then a couple of their friends started joining, and then it became kind of a group effort that they all started going together. So it is embracing those things that you have to be gentle with yourself, but you have to identify what it is that is stressing you out, and then you can go for the root cause. If it is time management, then you could work out through it. If it is the job, then see how it is that you can de-stress from the job. If you cannot change the job, and I understand that, of course, for a lot of people that might not be an immediate option, but it could be something they could consider down the line. Then it could be, how do I embrace some mindfulness, some meditation, some de-stressing activities through physical activity after the job. And that helps bring down my stress levels before going home, for example. Food, if you're stressed out about eating healthy all the time, then pre-planning or paying for a service, at least to get you into the mood for better food and better nourishment. These are options that you can take up. You don't have to stress out every time you reach out for that cookie. As Janice was saying, and this is one of the strategies I implemented, stop buying the cookies so they're not available at home, and then start thinking you can still buy cookies. Just reach out to, there are a lot of home-based businesses now that are all about healthier options, replacing our snacks and stuff. I'm not saying you can eat the whole bag, but then if you're reaching out for that one, it is a better option in terms of the quality, not necessarily the calories. Stop fixating on the calories. It is about the quality of what you are eating. And also, more importantly, people stress out just about their weight and their looks and everything without really assessing what it is they want to go for. Are they going for an all lean muscular view? Are they going for an all sporty? Do they just want, like for me, it's about visceral fat. I want to lose the fat around my internal organs for health purposes. It's no longer about the aesthetic. The aesthetic is a cherry on top, but it's not what I'm fixated on. So thus, I'm no longer chasing the short-term gain of, I want to look good in my swimming suit. No, I want to feel good in my body, moving on 10, 20 years down the line. So all of these things put together, what what that approach allows us to do, and yet again, this is about the betterment of our mental health, is embracing a growth mindset when it comes to it. Like, I'm embracing one thing at a time. As Brian was saying, they start with something, one session, and then it hurts and it aches and the pains after the first session, and then the second session you get a bit better, and then a third session gets a bit better. I think that is one of the fundamental benefits of sports. It is the perseverance and the resilience that go into it as you start seeing yourself progressing. And that is what a growth mindset is about. It's about that progression of embracing something that could seem or appear difficult to you, or something that you could say, I'm not a boxer, I can't do this, but rather realizing that you can keep going on and that it will get better and you will feel better with it.
Very true. Brian, one thing that Dr. Hannon touched on was breathing. Breathing helps de-stress. How important is breathing when you're doing boxing and your exercise?
I actually just wish any of my students were here, whether it's the 7-year-olds or whether it's the 58-year-old. I just wish they were here answering that question. Because the first thing I say to people, and you mentioned something earlier on, I say to them, breathe. And they look at me. I say, no, breathe, and breathe properly. Because when people get a wee bit exhausted, they breathe, they sound like my Labrador breathing, okay? I use another expression, but I'm not going to use it on TV, you'll be glad to know. Stefan, there's another expression, it's all about this heavy breathing and panting. I say, no, stop that. And a few of my guys have noticed that they maybe watch boxing on television. Now, it could be any sport, doesn't matter what the sport is. I learned to breathe properly when I started running marathons. I'll be back in 1985. And that's when people saying to me, you're breathing wrong. It is all about breathing in. It's all about breathing properly. And I emphasize that. There's a few fights that I will send to some of my clients and they'll see it. And you'll see the fighter when he comes to the corner and he sits down and the first thing the coach says is, breathe. And a lot of people say, that's really unusual. Like, why is he telling them to breathe? But he's telling them to breathe properly. He's telling them to do it properly. And even that can de-stress you.
Absolutely.
I watched a television program where they hypnotized someone and they got the person very stressed because they were reliving 2 or 3 previous lifetimes and something like that. And the individual got rather stressed out. And that's all the woman kept saying. The doctor kept saying, breathe slowly, breathe in slowly, breathe out slowly. Stuff like that. It helps. There's something else the doctor said there. She said, make a plan. When I speak to people, when the people come for my first session, I say, look, we're going to have a structure here. Because the way I look at it, and I actually done an advert in my Instagram where I said, because some people were buying sessions of me training, women were buying it for their husbands and vice versa. And I said, well, that's fine, but just remember, boxing training isn't just for Christmas. It's a lifestyle. Again, I'm a firm believer in that because it does give you structure. Everybody needs structure in your life. Boxing training is about that discipline. If you get the structure and the discipline, it will build your character. If you get structure, discipline, and character, it builds your confidence. And it's as simple as that. And I think that's what I know that is why boxing training in a lot of the private schools in the United Kingdom is part of the curriculum. And I know I spoke to a few head teachers here back in the past, and they wanted it to be part of the curriculum because they maybe experienced it, whether through their academic studies or the time they spent in the army. They realised the structure, the discipline, the confidence, the character building. They realised all that. I had a couple of wee kids who were very shy, extremely shy, very, very timid. But then after maybe 10 or 12 sessions, they're coming out their shell. Now, I'm not saying that in a way where they're unruly or they're cheating. I'm not saying that. You can see a difference in their character, and their parents notice the same thing as well. They change slightly. And to me, that's what it's all about. So when people come to me, I say, well, we're looking for a structure here. I need a bit of discipline. I want a commitment from you. And they say, what do you mean? Now, this has got nothing at all to do commercially. I'll say, well, I think people say, well, I want to get into shape. I want to get fit. It doesn't matter for what reason. If they come to boxing, they will get into shape. They will get better. The blood pressure will come down. Their overall physical awareness will improve. That'll happen. It can't not happen, but that will happen. I asked them for a commitment. I said, well, one guy said to me, well, I want to look like you. I went, okay, how long have you got? And he said, well, how many sessions? I said to him, well, I normally train 5 days a week, an hour personally. So do you want to do 5 days a week training? Oh, no, I don't think I can manage that. Okay, well, let's do a minimum of 3, maybe 4. The guy's now moved up to 5 a week, where on occasions he'll train at 7 in the morning, then he'll train at 7 at night. That's fine. That's what he's comfortable to do. If I didn't think he was capable of doing it, I'd be saying, no, just keep it. But he is, and he's pushing that, and it was a goal that he wanted to achieve after about 2 or 3 months. So he's doing that. When he'll do a weight training session in the morning, and he'll do a boxing session at night. Do that. But I'm looking for that commitment from that individual. Because I'll say to them, don't expect to come along here and overnight see any changes. It could take 2 months, it could take 3 months, it could take 4 months. It doesn't happen overnight. No. So I need a commitment from them. And if they commit, then I'll commit. And a friend of mine who's got a gym in Spain, American guy, he had said, something, Brian, what will happen if you get immersed in this, as I know you will? This was last summer before coming back here. And he said, you will think more and be more concerned about your clients' physical health than they will be. And I thought, nah. But it's true. It's true. You do have a lot of empathy. I've got a couple of guys just now who I'm phoning up saying, look, I'll come and train you at home. Oh, it's Ramadan. That's fine. I'll come at 8 o'clock at night. I'll come at 8 o'clock at night if you want to. You can do that. Don't worry about it. I'll come at 9 o'clock at night. Because I know that these guys, how beneficial it is for them. And the fact, because of the lockdown and then straight into Ramadan, they've taken their foot off the gas, and it'll be harder for them to get back into it.
So you're there. So you're there, looking after them.
Oh, yeah. Inshallah, as they say in this part of the world.
Right. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Brian, how can people find you?
Well, if they look, I'm on Instagram. Gary set me up on Instagram, which is just hashtag Brian Ferguson Boxing.
Okay.
My local number is 33557491. That's not changed. Give me a call and get a chat. And that's basically it. And as you say, I'm doing this. We should do the 25 press-up challenge together. If I can remember something, Stefan, I remember maybe about 9 or 10 years ago when I first came here, and we chatted about a few things. We chatted about business. We chatted about training. And I remember you had said, oh, I think Amanda and I will come along to your boxing. So 9, 10 years later.
Yeah, life takes over,
Kids, life,
Yeah. All right, brilliant. Well, yes, you're on. I'll do the 25 press-ups.
I'll nominate you then. One of the next things coming up, because I've got a few people I've been nominating, people that I don't like normally. And then
okay. All right. Well, nominate them first, and I'll be on your backup list. All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Dr. Hanan. See you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.